So yeah, I've done it all from super entrepreneurial companies to really corporate companies,
Yeah.
which has definitely been a struggle for me
Yeah.
in my personality and how I approach HR, because those really corporate companies sometimes just don't want to bend on how they operate, and those are also sometimes the ones that have the bad environments
Right.
and the very rigid, and it's like, okay, you do have that 1-2 year turn, and they
Mm-hmm.
go on, and you can't keep good people. But outside of HR, in the military as well, been in, oh my god, 19 years. Started off as a E1 private, worked the ranks quickly just because of my assertiveness and passionate, as they say, a
There
lot
you
of
go.
people,
There you go.
and just kind of how I approach leadership, and not very how the military is with their rigid way. I've always kind of been a different approach to leadership and how I take on things,
Mm-hmm.
which has had me be super successful, and why I'm actually a first sergeant now of a company.
Mm-hmm.
I progressed very quickly, and it's been great. So yeah, that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Good. Where did did you find HR or did it find you?
It found me. I actually started off right out of college doing junior buyer planning for at an advertising agency, traditional
Okay.
media, and I
More on the creative. Yeah,
yeah, and
yeah.
I kind of realized after about a year of doing it, it wasn't my cup of tea. Crazily, males don't do very well in the media side of advertising. It's very
Okay.
female predominant.
Males or gay males?
Straight males.
Okay.
So the
this,
the
there's
gay
another.
males, yeah, but even then, they almost flock more towards the. This is going to sound very awful to say. They almost flock more to the account service side, because they get to
Okay.
interact more with clients,
Gotcha.
and they get to get wined and dined
Gotcha.
by vendors and stuff like that, and
Gotcha.
take the trips. But yeah, so I realized it wasn't my thing, and I liked the company that I was at the
Mm-hmm.
time, but I didn't want to leave, and the director of operations heard about it, and she goes,
Mm-hmm.
I have an HR position,
Mm-hmm.
you can make it what it is, and so I fell into it, fell in love, and that's really where it grew.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I did everything HR. One of the things I did a lot of, particularly in that role as a specialist, was recruiting,
Gotcha.
and I did not like the idea of recruiting. I was just like, oh my God, all I do is interview. And then at one point I said, I've got to make this fun. I got to enjoy it. And so I started turning it almost into a game, an experience where, every day I meet and get to talk to 2 or 3 different new people, and,
Yeah.
sit here in chairs like this and learn some effed out stories or background, and like, oh my God, like, okay, cool, you're having word vomit, and I don't know if I should really hire you
Oh my
anymore.
God.
So, and I mean, I just
Were
loved
you
it.
interviewing me? Because that just, I have a tendency to word vomit. I
That
get
could be a
nervous,
possibility.
and it just word vomit.
Yeah, so from there, it was just, I really had a passion, and I feel like every time I've ever been in a company doing HR, it's always been, he's very passionate. That seems to be a thing that comes up a lot in my reviews, or hell, even in the military. A lot of my reports are always one of my most passionate soldiers, and more assertive and outspoken and loud and energetic. So yeah, it's just, I guess, always been me. I would have never thought in a million years I would have gotten into HR. And one of my degrees is actually communications, emphasis in interpersonal organizational development.
Okay.
But I never had any idea that I would get into that aspect.
Right.
Because I was more focused on, my other degree was in political science, and I was more focused on that, and thought, what it could do and help for the public speaking and all that. And so I never would have thought in a million years I would land in HR, because even ironically, when I enlisted in the military and I took my ASVAB, the 3 highest scores I had was petroleum supply, maintenance, and human resources. And
So can we just take a moment as to where the ranking in the military was for how they saw the value of personnel, petroleum,
Right.
and HR?
Right. And it's like, and then we got this little outlier over here.
Yeah.
And I feel like, honestly, if I would have chose the HR in the military, I don't think I would have ever gotten into it in the civilian side, because to me it would have become such a chore.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to do it. And I mean, I've been doing petroleum for 19 years. It's the only MOS I hold. And I love it. Weirdly, I love that MOS.
Yeah.
And I was an instructor for the longest time because I had such a passion about it. And I loved teaching and educating people. So for the last 9 years, I was an instructor in the reserve. And I loved it.
Nice.
I loved getting up there and teaching.
Yeah.
Filling the eager little minds. You know, it was just great.
Good. I don't think people oftentimes when going into HR, and I would often look around when I came away from my first job in HR, because it found me because I could just type 80 words a minute.
Oh. And
the temp agency was like, oh, you can go over here. This director of HR, they're building a hospital and she needs help typing the policies. And I memorized the policies doing that.
Yeah.
And so it just came around, and she was a great mentor, a leader, taught me everything I wanted to know is in healthcare. And I remember after that going to my next organization and thinking at that time, why the hell would anybody really choose this profession?
Right.
This is a true calling, and it you know, of what it is. And I'm just like, what the hell? And when I would hear that people like got degrees in it and stuff, I'm like, you did?
Poor soul.
You did that on purpose.
Oh,
did you know what you were getting into?
Right. Because I mean, it's funny you say that, because I always joke around about how people who are in HR, they're a masochist. They love pain, apparently. They love humiliation, you know, because you in HR, you sadly and disgustingly to say, get treated like shit a lot
You're
of the
the
time.
lonely.
You're the punching bag.
Yeah.
And, you know, people sometimes wonder why we're so disgruntled sometimes in HR, because you can only take so much before you think, you know what, today's the day that I just snap. Today's the day I become a Lifetime movie. So, yeah.